Coming up on TNA Reaction, all your questions will finally be answered.
Back in my day, wrestling was different. We didn't have these hussies.
AEW All Access.
I'm Ric Flair. I'm Ric Flair. I'm
Old school
Ric Flair.
DTKC show intro.
Why did Jeff Hardy return?
You could actually probably use this in 2023.
An intimate look backstage at the lives of Jeff Jarrett and Karen Angle.
Oh!
Hang on.
Shazam!
Oh, good for you.
Unbelievable.
We take you behind the curtain and explore the real reality of professional wrestling. TNA Reaction.
AEW All Access.
Where am I? Where am I?
Sit back, relax, and enjoy as Don Tony gives you news and reviews from AEW, NXT, and Indie Wrestling 2.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait.
It's Wednesday night, Don-O-Mite.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Hey, I will never turn down super chats here. They go to good use. They help with the bills. And much appreciated to Sticky Fingers Frank for the 20 spot. You do not need to beg me to criticize this AEW All Access. Rampage this past Friday did 287,000 viewers. Last year, they also were in the 7 p.m. time slot and did almost 500,000 viewers. You can't get a second women's match on TV. There's storylines, but things get pushed last minute. House of Black versus the Elite, great example of it. And the last thing we need is a reality TV show at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I mean, you think about the decline of AEW towards their main event, and now you're going to... This, to me, sounds like a contract obligation that AEW needed to fill for the Warner Media. And let's be honest, Bitch Slap, whatever that TV show is, I think that's the bigger news, that in March, they're losing their Wednesday night 10 p.m. time slot because pro wrestling fans aren't sticking around to see people slap each other in the face. Did you see the commercial tonight? That now these people are going to live in the same house, 16 competitors. They're going to live together, and they're all going to strive to be who makes it to be the next bitch slapper. Could you imagine if I was producing that show? You know what I would do? Johnny, one of the favorites, Johnny, who's in the house staying with me, I sneak a couple of nudie magazines in his bed. Hey, I'd fuck with his phone. He goes to make a phone call and he sees OnlyFans pop up on his screen. Maybe if he jerks off enough, his hand is too sore and he won't be able to slap. That's the controversy. Hey, tomorrow I got to take on Jose in a slapping contest. I know what I'll do. I'll sexually arouse him so he can masturbate all night long. And then by tomorrow, his hand is like, I don't know, All Access. That is the announcement tonight. Listen, getting to know some of these wrestlers is something that we talked about 3.5 years ago. Getting to know, and not just, could you imagine, we just have Powerhouse Hobbs, the Book of Hobbs, walking the streets of Compton, talking about what happened to him when he was young, his family, his this, what he was put through, this and that. And I'm going to take it out on nobody. Nobody. So what is this going to do? We're going to learn like what Orange Cassidy really likes to drink. Like, I don't have any interest in seeing this. You know, this is not something that fixes AEW. To me, it's like, you know, you have too many toys, and instead of cleaning up your room and making it look nice, you decide, you know what? Instead of me cleaning up my room because there's too many toys, let me make the room bigger. Let me put it. No. Ring of Honor. This motherfucker has been pushing Ring of Honor since he bought it. And I don't blame him. Pushing Ring of Honor. They're doing TV tapings this weekend for Honor Club. You don't announce it? This needed to be announced tonight? Why didn't they tell the wrestling world that Honor Club, weekly Ring of Honor TV, all of your stars, your current champions, you'll see yesteryear. Why not throw on the screen El Generico, Kevin Steen, AJ Styles, and other stuff from yesteryear? You know, just show, make it exciting. This is, you don't even mention it. This is TNA reaction, in my opinion. It's TNA reaction. Again, this is probably something. We'll find out that it was something that they made obligations when they made their original deal. It's almost like Battle of the Belts. Look at Battle of the Belts. Look at the piss poor ratings. Look at these shit matches. Nothing against the wrestlers. They work hard. But look at Battle of the Belts. Look where it's become. Saturday night at a time slot that most people don't give a shit about. And they do it because they were contractually obligated to do this. Hey, we got to give them whatever it is, 4, 5, 6. We got to do it. So they have to do it. This is what this feels like. Do you remember way back when, they're going to do a third hour of AEW programming? And there were rumors that it was going to be a reality show. This is not needed. This is not going to help their product. I don't give a fuck what inspirational story. I don't care if somebody was stabbed, shot, abused, working, just struggling. Yeah, it humanizes it. I'm not tuning in or buying a pay-per-view because, hey, really nice backstory to this person. Hey, you want to root for that person. But this isn't going to do anything. This is not going to get people to, this doesn't fix any problems. In my opinion. I will give it a chance. I will watch it, and I will give you my honest thoughts. But in my opinion, I don't think it's really going to do much of anything. Sorry. That's just the way I feel about it. So, last 2 Battle of the Belts were at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, come on. Saturdays, Fridays, late. They tried to, I think the last one had followed the Rampage, thinking that everybody would stick around to watch Battle of the Belts. It's not going to work. It's ridiculous. This is not the answer. Back then, if you remember, why do you think that TNA reaction mockery that we put on our show many, many years ago, why do we do that? Because we hated Jeff Hardy? No, we love Jeff Hardy. Because we didn't appreciate Ric Flair? Of course we did. Jeff Jarrett and Karen Angle, we didn't give a fuck back then, to be honest with you. But it was just, this is not the answer. It didn't fix anything. And you saw how quickly that shit was over with. Honestly, I'd rather watch bitch slapping than watch that. But hey, who am I? Who am I to say? All right, I want to welcome everyone to Wednesday Night Dynamite. And as we are slowly, progressing, we are moving away from just detailed 90-minute TV recaps. We get into news. We'll overview a few things and, do a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. I want to bring something up. It's not news, but it's definitely something that we should all start thinking about. Speaking of contractual obligations, tonight on AEW Dynamite, Jack Perry interrupted Christian Cage, who was going to cut a promo. Before Christian could open his mouth, Jack Perry laid him out. tease a concerto, started the show sympathy, big mistake, gets a low blow crotch shot from Christian. Christian smashes his head into a chair a bunch of times, leaves him bloody, and this obviously should lead to a match at Revolution. By the way, we have a majority of the lineup set for Revolution, even though some matches have not been officially announced. You could see with only less than 2 weeks left, this is what they do every pay-per-view. There's at least 6 to 7 matches that are decided within the last 2 weeks prior to the pay-per-view, and we're getting it once again. That match should be one of them. It's pretty much a guarantee. Now, why am I talking about that at the very beginning of this, and what does this have to do about contractual obligations? Well, as I was looking at Christian's reaction after he did what he did and getting massive heel heat, all that kept going through my mind was March 7th. March 7th. And I know what some of you are going to say. No, DT. AEW Revolution is March 5th. I get that. March 7th will be exactly 2 years that it was announced that Christian Cage signed with AEW. Now, I did some research because I wanted to make sure before I bring this up. No one out there, as far as I could find, has ever clarified what the definition of multi-year means. Is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? I don't know if it's 5 years, but the point I'm getting at is that when I watched this tonight, and I kept thinking about March 7th, I kept thinking about Edge's promo from Raw. Because if you follow the shows here, we've been talking about it for a while. Edge has proclaimed that 2023 is his last year, and I honestly, for the life of me, cannot believe that Edge will officially retire without either having a match against Christian or having a match with Christian before he retires. So I'm starting to wonder, is Christian a free agent in March, this year, or is he signed for 3 years and he's contractually obligated until March of next year? So listen, 2023 is still 9 months away, but March of 2024 is not 2023. So now I am wondering, how many years did Christian Cage sign with AEW? We don't know. As far as I could find, we don't know. And anybody in the chat's going to say, oh, it was 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You don't know. You don't know. Nobody has reported as far as I could find, even when Christian did interviews. Plus, you remember the William Regal situation? We talked about it. I mean, I'm not trying to be cocky, but we talked about it before anyone else. I had to throw it on thumbnails so there would be documentation of it. William Regal had a multi-year contract with AEW, but he had an opt-out after 1 year with 90-day notice. That's to summarize it, and that's exactly what happened with William Regal. So I'm wondering if Christian signed a multi-year deal with his options. Maybe he can opt out after 1 year. Maybe he could opt out after 2 years. Maybe he could opt. So I'm curious to see what happens at AEW Revolution. Does Jungle Boy Jack Perry lay a concerto onto Christian Cage where they play off? He's taken out on a stretcher and this and that. And then you wonder, is his AEW career over? I don't know. And I'm not insinuating that Christian is going to be done with AEW. There's no clickbait here. I have said it 1,000 times tonight, or maybe 3, that we don't know how long Christian Cage is signed. But it's definitely something that you should all think about and maybe start asking a question. What's up with Christian's contract? Because do I think Christian versus Edge or with Edge would happen at Mania this year? No, not at all. 2023 is still a long ways from being done. Edge doesn't mean that he retires at WrestleMania, unless, as we talked about on Monday, him versus Finn Balor, if there is a retirement stipulation that we hope is not attached to it. Hopefully Edge, when he retires in 2023, it's in December, not in April. So we'll see what happens. Also, speaking of the announcement tonight, a lot of people thought the announcement was going to be Forbidden Door 2. Now, where did that come from? Since nobody mentioned that over the last 6 days, but today, all of a sudden, my sources tell me that AEW is having Forbidden Door 2 this year, and it could very well be the announcement. No. They went on Spectrum's Cable's website, just like I did tonight. And for those that are interested, Spectrum Cable has their 2023 pay-per-view lineup. And yes, you do have the option of buying WWE pay-per-views. Yes, it's not just Peacock. You could spend, and look at that WrestleMania. That's not all that bad. $29.99 for WrestleMania Night 1, $29.99 for WrestleMania Night 2. Hey, that's not that bad of a price. But if you look at AEW, June 24th, 2023, AEW Forbidden Door. So that is apparently from Spectrum's schedule. Now, could it be preliminary? Sure. Could that be, an incorrect date? Absolutely. We talked about the AEW video game. You remember last year when everybody's like, oh, the game is going to be released December 31st, 2022. And I'm like, no, they just put that date in there because they don't know the date. So they put the last day of the year. You go on Amazon right now. You go on Best Buy, you go on some of these big websites and type in AEW Fight Forever, and you will find that the release date is December 31st, 2023. Are any goofs out there reporting like, oh my God, AEW Fight Forever is not coming out until after Christmas? No, because now they realize, that they just put that date in there to put something in there. But Saturday, June 24th is a very interesting date to just throw up there. Now, when you go back to that schedule, there's no other event, competing that night. So that could very well be the date. So just something for you to think about. June 24th, 2022. Benjamin, not everybody has Peacock. Not everybody subscribes to it. It's an app. There are people out there that have still traditional cable and pay-per-views. It is what it is. You'd be surprised. It's not a big number, but you should do a little research and see how many pay-per-view buys that WWE gets in a year. Might surprise you a little bit. It's on their financials. It's just you haven't paid me enough to do that kind of research. So hey, keep that on the back of your mind. Now, as I teased earlier today on social media, we are going to do a little contest tonight. We're going to actually do it in about 10, 15 minutes. We're not going to make you wait long. And this is open to everybody who is in the live chat. It is my thanks for you spending some time with me live. I appreciate everyone who watches on the archive as well, but it is very difficult to do predictions contests on an archive because you really can't, there's no timestamp on YouTube. So I can't tell if somebody put their entry in at 10:01 p.m. or let me use a better example, at 4:01 p.m. or 4:59 p.m. And when ratings come out, somebody could, post a prediction and the rating is already out and, you could cheat to win a prize. That's why I do it for the live audience here. My question to you is this. Now, the prize tonight is going to be for this autographed Nikita Lyons photo. This is a very popular contest that I've done in the past. I have another one. It is PSA authenticated. And the reason why we're doing that tonight is because today is the 1-year anniversary of Nikita Lyons' AEW TV debut. And hey, remember the infamous pin? That move that she did, everybody on social media that night was talking about it. Some people got a little bit too sexual, but it was 1 year ago today that she made that pin. So, we're celebrating 1 year of Nikita Lyons in NXT. Unfortunately, she will be out close to a year with her current injury. But my question to everybody that's live is, which contest do you want to do? Do you want an NXT ratings prediction contest? Because the NXT rating is not out yet. And we're only doing it live tonight. So, the rating is not going to come out at midnight tonight, so we don't have to worry. But do you want an NXT ratings prediction contest tonight, or do you want a Nikita Lyons NXT prediction contest? Well, not a prediction, but an NXT trivia. A Nikita Lyons NXT trivia contest. Do you want ratings or do you want trivia? Now, I have a trivia question lined up, and it's very easy. So you tell me, quick, do you want a ratings contest or do you want a Nikita Lyons trivia contest? And I promise you the question only has to do with NXT. It doesn't have to do with her previous characters elsewhere. It's only something that happened on television. So, post your preference now, because in about 10 seconds, I'm going to say majority wins, and that'll be it. So whichever one we don't do, maybe we'll do it for a little extra credit. All right, everybody's saying ratings. Okay, do not post your ratings now. We'll do that in about 10 minutes. By 10:45, we will definitely do the contest. Start thinking in the back of your mind what you think NXT's rating was for this week. Last week, it was 640,000. So think about last week's number. Think about the show that happened yesterday. In fact, what I will do right now is I will give you the ratings, and let's talk about Grayson Waller. Let's talk about Grayson Waller. We definitely have some cooked sausage on the barbecue. And I invite all of you out there to go on social media and just search Grayson Waller. I'm blown away that 98% of every website, blogger, podcaster, news outlet, anybody that has a social media footprint out there are still pushing Shawn Michaels versus Grayson Waller at Stand and Deliver. They can't be that stupid. We made this argument a week ago why that makes no sense in 2023. So yesterday on NXT television, after Bron Breakker successfully retained his NXT championship against Jinder Mahal, Grayson Waller was in the production booth. And he's fucking with the show. And in 2 weeks at NXT Roadblock, Grayson Waller wants to have Shawn Michaels on for the Grayson Waller effect. Shawn Michaels will be his guest in 2 weeks. If you remember last week, we started pushing it really, really hard. The only match that should happen at Stand and Deliver is Grayson Waller versus Johnny Gargano. And, I don't find any fault in any of you out there that do not watch NXT on a regular basis. But there were quite a few of you out there that did not know about the storyline history between Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller. Now, I decided to put it on the thumbnail so it could be documented, but all you got to do is look at this thumbnail, and it says it all. Grayson Waller and Shawn Michaels, feuding over the last couple of weeks. Grayson Waller calling out Shawn Michaels in 2 weeks for Roadblock. And remember, when he attacked Johnny Gargano, when Johnny Gargano first was leaving, when his wife was going to be having their child, Grayson Waller is the one that beat the shit out of him. But remember what happened right before that. Who was the one that hugged Johnny Gargano on the stage with Candice LeRae crying? Yes, it was Shawn Michaels. It only makes common, obvious sense, and I don't want to be extra nasty, but to quote some famous person out there, duh. Anybody in their right mind think that Shawn Michaels, as he is right now, should be facing Grayson Waller WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver? It only makes sense for Johnny Gargano to be the one. Johnny Gargano, they wrote him off TV at Elimination Chamber. Candice LeRae on Raw was talking about, oh, Johnny will be back. Johnny will be back. She was more concerned about Nikki Cross. But You leave Johnny Gargano off of this Monday's Raw. You leave him off next Monday's Raw. And then he shows up at NXT Roadblock. Now, some of you out there who I know do not watch NXT on a regular basis immediately ripped it. Oh, Johnny Gargano, oh, he's failing on the main roster. Now you're bringing him back to NXT. How could you demote him so quick? It's not a fucking demotion. It's WrestleMania weekend. This storyline between these two guys was never finished. It was never finished. And listen, you are not even hearing me say long-term booking. You know, just because something hasn't happened for a year or two and then it happens, that doesn't always mean long-term booking. Trust me, when Johnny Gargano was brought back, or, you know, when he came back, because he was never released, he, on his own will, left, you know, to have a child. When he came back, you know, I'm sure this was discussed, but this was not the plan even when he was written off TV. Listen, when you come back, you know, down the line, you know, you will have you feud with it. You know, it's WrestleMania weekend. It makes sense. It makes sense. This is perfect. There is nothing flawed about this whatsoever. And it's mind-boggling. You think I'm making it up. If you think I'm exaggerating, just go on social media, just type in Grayson Waller, Shawn Michaels, and then you click on Twitter, the word latest on the top to sort it out. You'll punch yourself in the face. Like, these people either can't be that stupid or they're just putting that out there because the search term everybody's searching is Shawn Michaels, Grayson Waller. Nobody is bringing up Gargano, and that's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. So, cook sausage, everyone. This should, in 2 weeks, develop into that match. We will wait and see. We'll wait and see. All right. Now, you saw my thumbnail. You know, Johnny, stand up. Stand and deliver. That's what this is going to be. My original thumbnail was a little bit different. In the past, we had public enemy number one. We talked about CM Punk being public enemy number one, and this was way before the IWC really went balls out against this guy once they realized that the Elite and, you know, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks of Kenny Omega, you know, they're the ones that are very, very important for this company, and they were to be the one returning. So everybody else turned against CM Punk. He was public enemy number one. Do you remember who public enemy number two was? Yes. If you look at the timestamp, we called this weeks before it happened. Yes, it was Andrade. Andrade became public enemy number two. And this was before the incident with him and Sammy Guevara. And then we had the one that I got criticized the most for, and that was public enemy number three, Dax Harwood. Dax Harwood, people like, oh my God, no, they love FTR. Yeah. When we talked about it, I said, yeah, just let his podcast stay out there for a little while and let him talk a little bit real about shit going on. And Dax Harwood, oh my God, did the Elite IWC turn against him? Well, now public enemy number four, it is obvious, and there's no argument about it. It is obviously, a little buffed and jacked, but yeah, Ariel Helwani is now public enemy number four. After what happened last week, and let me tell you something, Ariel Helwani right now, a lot of you may not know this, but Ariel Helwani right now is teasing that he has all of this recorded pre-show, post-show discussion with Tony Khan. See, when you do an interview and you start recording and you get everything going, you have a little bit of a talk beforehand, you know, like, or you talk afterwards about, you know, what just went down. I have done it with conversations, and he teased in his MMA Hour show that he's got some wild footage. And he was talking about like how weird and how wacky, you know, like Tony Khan was. Like, I don't know if it was before or afterwards, but he's sort of writing on the wall. He's not dealing with somebody, you know, with a full deck of cards. And yeah, I mean, yeah, we're basking in, obviously, it's not glory, but by the way, what happened to fucking Keith Lee? Shows up on Rampage, nothing tonight. Zero. Zilch. Eric Bischoff just did this whole tirade calling him a petulant child and how he's got too many toys. You know, I'm honored that like minds, you know, sometimes think alike. We've been calling him a petulant child since, I think, March or April of last year. You know, the infamous petulant child thumbnail. But I think it's safe to say that we need to wait about 2 weeks. We need to wait about 2 weeks. Not just yet. But Public Enemy, can you guess who is going to redeem number 5? Who's going to be Public Enemy number 5? Who's going to redeem it? Yes, wait about 2 weeks. He's already one of the more disliked people. But there are still a lot of fans out there that are frustrated that Miro is not on TV. It's not about injury. Miro's been off TV for hundreds and hundreds of days. But in about 2 weeks, we should have some clarity about Miro. You may actually have him return, believe it or not. It's not news. I'm not trying to throw news out there, but he may actually be back in a couple of weeks. But if he doesn't, in about 12 to 19 days, you watch what little crumbs are thrown out there against Miro. And you will realize that he will be Public Enemy number 5. So, you know, see, what I love about those, it's unfortunate we have to do those, but what we love about it is you see it before it happens, especially with, you know, Dax and Andrade, you know, and it's sad. It's sad because each one is turned into a disaster. And the idea that CM Punk is going to make amends and this and that, you know, this is a mindset. And let me also say something, and then we'll get to the contest in about 7 minutes. The House of Black cut a promo tonight. And on Rampage Friday, they're going to confront the Elite. Then they're going to lay out the challenge for the trios titles at Revolution. The Elite will accept, and everything will go down. The problem I had with their promo tonight is they're acting like baby faces. Malachi Black is talking about, you know, the obvious problem with the foundation of AEW and basically saying that, you know, there's a lot of people online that are, you know, saying that there's a problem with the foundation. Gee, I wonder where we've all heard that from. And believe me, we're not the only people here saying that. But that's babyface territory. The Elite and Kenny Omega are babyfaces on TV. So them trying to, you know, AEW trying to make this a little bit of reality added to it, because the perception is that Malachi Black is not happy with a lot of the people behind the scenes, especially the last time when he first left for a little while, when they revealed about his little, you know, his, it's not little, but his, you know, his issues with, you know, mental health and a few, you know, reasons why he wanted some time off. And those crumbs were fed to some people online. You know, always take notice that whenever there's something questionable put online, especially about certain people or a certain concept or mindset of AEW, always pay attention to the big names in the media world, because if you pay close attention, you will see the pattern. Even with the Vince McMahon stuff going on right now, I'm sure the last 36 hours you've heard all the nonsense about the Vince McMahon stuff. And I'm not even talking about Fightful, you know, hearing from someone that Vince is back creative. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying all the other nonsense that's being thrown around. Because as soon as people want a certain narrative squashed, especially when AEW, you will see these big-time reporters get crumbs, and they will immediately throw shit out there to try to change the narrative. Try to change the topic at hand, the subject. Remember Miro? People started really voicing and venting like, why the fuck is this guy not on TV? And almost immediately, you had some of the elite journalists out there saying, oh, well, he balked at this storyline and this. They had an answer. Within 24 hours, they had an answer to throw out there. What did a lot of people say? Oh, well, if that's what Miro did, then I wouldn't put him on TV either. Job well done. They did it with Andrade. You know, when Andrade, you know, was having his issue with Sammy Guevara, literally in 24 hours, oh, well, you know, he went up this way and he did that, did that. The CM Punk stuff. within a day or two, the media, the elite media, had the crumbs and throwing this narrative and this and this and this, and you got to pay attention to it, though. You can't just rely on cut and paste sites because their intentions are a little different. They just want any way to get you to click on their shit. So, all right, so let's do the ratings predictions contest for the Nikita Lyons signed photo. Let's throw the picture up here. And I'm a little afraid of doing this, but for some reason, I cannot see the screen. Oh, actually, I can see the chat. Okay, so we can do the live chat. All right, so let me pull this up. Hang on. There you go. There's the live chat. So do not do it yet, but in the chat room, you will see me put the word go. I will type it. Once you see that, then you enter your ratings prediction, what you think NXT's rating will be from yesterday, the 21st of February. If you put more than one prediction, your first one is the only one that I'll take. If you delete a prediction and then add something later on, you're not in the contest. Because sometimes someone will post like, let's say 610, and then later on someone will post 611. Like, oh, fuck. So you delete it, and then they write like 613. No, if you delete and post something again, it's not included. But here's the NXT results from yesterday. And I think that's important because last week they did 640, and this was the lineup from yesterday. And you think to yourself, would the rating have gone up because of this, or would it have gone down? Ilya Dragunov over Trick Williams. The Dyad over Chase University. JC Jane beat Indy Hartwell by DQ because Gigi Dolan came out and beat the fuck out of her. And believe it or not, I actually got a couple of autographed photos from Gigi Dolan NXT in the mail over the weekend. So we're probably going to do a giveaway either next week or maybe we'll do it the week of Roadblock. So keep a lookout on there. Really, really nice photos. Almost fan time type photos. That's the way I describe it. Fan time type photos. Yeah, the photos are a little cheeky. Let's just say that. Gallus over Idris Anofi and Malik Blade. Tony D'Angelo over Von Wagner. Alba Fire over Ivy Nile. And Bron Breakker retaining his NXT championship against Jinder Mahal. Those were your matches yesterday. The ratings will be out by the morning. So now you have 30 seconds to post your rating. It should not take you more than 5, and I just typed go. So let's see. You have about 30 seconds to post your, why is it? There you go. There it goes. So I have it on the screen so everybody could see it live and in person, and by tomorrow we'll know who won. So you have about 30 seconds. I could take a slug of my drink. By the way, I think we're going to do a little change when we discuss ratings from now on. For the last couple of Mondays, everyone has really liked the This Week in Ratings segment I've been doing. We've been doing the ratings for the entire 7-day period for all of the promotions. But what we also do is we also get into some quarter-hour breakdowns, show you the high points for certain shows and the low points for certain shows. I had quite a few of you over the last week say to me, DT, why don't you just keep AEW NXT on Wednesdays? Do those breakdowns on Wednesdays and just leave Mondays for WWE, and if you want, Impact Wrestling, New Japan, MLW. So I think going forward, we're going to keep AEW and NXT's ratings discussion here on Wednesday nights, so we could get a good idea as far as what the ratings were the week before, what the high and low points were. Then we see what happens next week. So, all right, 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left. So your last chance, if you want to be on this, in this contest, and, good luck to everybody who participated. So we got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Contest over. Good luck. Good luck for everybody. All right. So as I'm looking here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 or 8 AEW matches pretty much set for Revolution. I don't know how I feel about this pay-per-view yet. I know MJF and Bryan Danielson is going to be a really beautiful match to watch. I think back to Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Page. I remember I was in a hotel room one night because I had to get some, test done, on my heart and everything. Remember, I stood in the hotel that night. I watched 1 hour and I was like, oh, that was awesome. So you know what you're going to get with MJF and Bryan Danielson. And I think we all have a good idea as far as who is going to, win this match. That doesn't mean we're not going to enjoy the 60 minutes of it. So, keep in mind, you're going to see, AEW usually averages, 14 matches when you include the dark matches as well. Now when you got a 60-minute match thrown in there, that probably eats up a minimum 3 matches. 3 very long matches. And since some of the matches announced are going to run long, this is more like 4 to 5 of the shorter matches that they normally have. So when we get into these matches, they probably will add 2 or 3 more. But for the most part, this is pretty much the meat and potatoes of what your card is going to be. So, when we get to it, you let me know what you think about it. But tonight, AEW is from Arizona, or as they said it, Scissorzona. Orange Cassidy opened up the show, beating Wheeler Yuta to retain the All-Atlantic Championship. Oh, let's take the chat. We can take that off the screen. Yeah, that was your main event tonight. Evil Uno versus Jon Moxley. I thought Evil Uno lost weight until I saw it tonight. And I should talk. I mean, I got a lot of weight to lose still. But, man, and why make the fucking guy bleed? He's wearing a goddamn mask. Like, I don't know, man. But that was your main event tonight, which kind of surprised me because I thought the main event would either be Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta or maybe even a tag team battle royale. And when we get to the battle royale, yeah, the team that a lot of you feared was going to win it just based on the storylines and the feuds for the last 6+ weeks, yeah, it pretty much was way too predictable. But Orange Cassidy beating Wheeler Yuta to retain the All-Atlantic Championship. I don't know if they're teasing Claudio versus Orange Cassidy. It sure feels that way. Early in the match, Claudio comes out there and tries to smack some sense into Wheeler Yuta. Beat this puny motherfucker. He didn't say motherfucker, but beat this puny guy, whatever he said. Didn't help because Claudio tried to slap some sense into Wheeler Yuta. Yuta still lost. But to try to keep Yuta strong, Yuta kicked out of an orange punch and a beach break, but the second orange punch he could not recover from. After the match is over, Orange Cassidy wants a hug. Wheeler says to him, hey, go fuck yourself. He leaves the ring. And Claudio's a little bit happy about it. He's like, my man, standing up for himself. Wheeler Yuta getting booed big time. Again, nothing personal against Wheeler Yuta. To me, the most overrated person arguably in wrestling right now. And the only reason why I say that is he's very talented. But people try to portray him as this like big, like young main eventer that's going to headline like pay-per-views in the future. I don't see it. To me, he looks like, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, he looks like a member of the Young Guns or the Young Dragons from WCW. His promos suck. His promos sound like he's at an audition for a movie and he knows he's only got one shot. Yeah, well, Orange Cassidy, I'm so glad that I left you because you treated me like a client. And it feels like he's reading a script. He feels, because in a movie, when you get a rehearsal, you don't say, can I do another? Can I try again? No, you get one shot. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yuta. We'll get back to you. Oh, can I do it one? No. He sounds so forced and like reading a script. I don't like him. I always called him Yuta Michinoku. That's what he looks like to me. It's nothing personal, but he reminds me of Taka Michinoku, and at least Taka Michinoku was pretty much silent when he was out there. You jackass. All right. Ricky Starks, a little bit of a bluff, goes out there, cuts a promo. He says he's done with Jericho. He uses an open challenge to anyone. Jericho's music hits, and we have to hear the whole song just so we could get the crowd to get to the point where they could all go, Judas in my mind. Ah! Listen, it's fun when you're live. It's fun when you're live. But after all this time, it's a little brutal now. You know? I mean, Ricky Starks is cutting a promo and Jericho goes to interrupt him and we got to wait 3 minutes. You know, because Jericho's just walking down there, you know. Now, if I'm Ricky Starks, cut his music. But then you get booed. Because everybody there wants to go, you know, just like even with the Cody Rhodes song, you know, whoa! They got to get to that point. And if you can get it, with Cody, you get it twice. Because they don't have enough verses. So Jericho says he could beat Ricky Starks any place, anytime, but it won't happen because he's not on Jericho's level. Peter Avalon comes out to issue the challenge. And Jericho's wearing a jacket with like these plastic spikes. He hits a Judas effect to Peter Avalon's shoulder, knocks him out. I'm sure that'll be on a Botchamania. And Jericho hits the ring. And Jericho sees right through Ricky Starks that, you know, he's trying to bait him into a match. Ricky admits that Jericho could probably beat him. But, Chris, why do you always need the Jericho Appreciation Society to be out there for your stuff? And basically trying to insult Jericho that, you know, you can't beat me on your own. You always need other people. And Jericho's like, look, I'll sign that contract right now. In fact, I'll even put it that Jericho Appreciation Society is banned from ringside. But I don't have a pen. So Ricky Starks says, I have a pen. And we get a little nostalgia tonight. Jericho with the pen. You just made the list. Yes. Yes. Just think, I'll probably get hit with a copyright because that motherfucker took 7 seconds to push that goddamn pen. So he pushes the pen, signs the contract. The match will go down at Revolution. Ricky Starks. They're not metal spikes, Benjamin. They're like, you know what? They're like that hard plastic, not polyurethane. Polyurethane's actually rubberish. You're not going to, you know, like accidentally bump into someone and then their face looks or their arms look like Swiss cheese or it looks like they have the measles. You know, you have to be a little careful there. I mean, the jacket looks awesome. So the contract is signed. The Acclaimed defeated Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. Look, it was a fun match. I think one of the problems with AEW also is a lot of these matches you could predict the outcome. Because AEW is so hell-bent on not doing this DQ finishes. And yes, I know they did a DQ finish last week, but that's like their quote is like once every 9 months. And you don't get many distraction fruit roll-up pins unless it's Jericho or it's a monster heel and everybody's supposed to be shocked and, you know, things like that. But, you know, on paper, we even said it last week, like, oh, Lee Moriarty's going to eat the pin. And sure enough, that's what happened. I did laugh at Max Caster's introduction, his promo. He was taking shots at everybody. But then when he talked about Big Bill, you know, the former Big Cass, he said something like that Big Bill's girl texted him, said that he's always SAWFT. Remember with Enzo? Soft. So that was good. Guns come out during the match, hit a cheap shot to their father, and then they leave for some reason. But the mic drop to Lee Moriarty, and the Acclaimed win. As we said earlier, Chuck Perry attacks Christian before Christian could cut his promo. After he hesitates from doing a concerto, Christian low blows him, smashes his head into the chair a few times, leaves him bloody. That match is going to happen at Revolution. Saraya beating Sky Blue. I'm not going to lie, the match was not very good at all. What I found interesting was Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker were so angry and had to make the save because they were going to spray paint Sky Blue's ass green. They took out the green spray paint. They didn't even like beat the fuck out of Sky Blue. I could see if they were just beating on her and the bell or keep ringing the bell. No, they grabbed the spray paint and they're incensed. Later on, Jamie Hayter cuts a promo. You know, Saraya is getting a little bit too big for her bridges. And I'm saying to myself, all she does is win 3-minute matches and spray paint people's asses green. So she wants to take on Saraya. But Ruby Soho shows up. Ruby sees right past Tony Storm and Saraya, looks at Jamie Hayter and does this. And she's not saying like, hey, you know, you put on some weight. You know, your waistline's getting bigger. No, she wants the women's championship. I feel like a bushwhacker. Doesn't it feel like I go like this? Yay! Whoa! So Ruby Soho wants a title shot. So Jamie Hayter later says, why don't I take on both of them? So at Revolution, we're going to get Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho versus Saraya. 3-way for the women's championship. Again, less than 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. I know we said it a few times already, I don't like that they're doing this tease that who is Ruby Soho aligned with. If you think of her whole character, she's a drifter. She's a loner. I don't want to see her turn heel with Saraya and Toni Storm, and I don't want to see her aligned with Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. And then forcing, which side is she on? This is not like Steve Austin with the Alliance and Team WWE at the time. It's stupid. I could see if people wooed her, whined her and bribed her and this and that and this. It's kind of forced, let's be honest. MJF and Bryan Danielson had a promo exchange that in the beginning was kind of dumb. It ended really, really good. They definitely pushed some buttons and struck some nerves of some people online. There are people out there that don't like that MJF said that if it wasn't for this title, that the title is the only thing that's preventing him from popping a whole fistful of pills and calling it a day, tease and drug overdose. Right away you get people online, my dad died from a drug overdose. And I'm not downplaying that. There are people that it strikes nerves, but, we watch movies and people get murdered. We watch movies and people get hit, assaulted. We see drug deals gone bad. You see, it's a movie. This is a form of entertainment. You don't take it seriously. But, as I keep reminding everyone, even though these promos are strong, and when he went there with CTE, that's something where you look at the history of wrestling and you look at brain injuries, you don't fuck around with CTE. And I keep saying to you, MJF, he ever signs a deal with WWE, got to think to yourself, and you got to be a little honest to yourself and really think about this. 80% of the shit that he says, he would not be able to say in WWE. So, at some point, he's going to have to pull back a little bit. At some point, he's going to have to water it down a little bit. And I know people aren't going to like it, and people are going to be like, wow, MJF has really gotten soft with his promos. Well, at some point, you really, you got to think about that. If you could say whatever the fuck you want, of course you're going to sound great. Because you get to say things that other people, but if I could say that, man, I could make my feuds, so the only thing I didn't like about this segment was early on, Bryan Danielson is talking about how he beat up William Regal, that MJF hates Bryan Danielson. So MJF comes out there and he calls William Regal a drug-addicted mentor of Bryan Danielson's. Okay, not a big deal. He says Bryan Danielson is a worse case scenario, worse than William Regal because he's addicted to the spotlight. And then MJF says he's got a message to Bryan Danielson's kids. This is what I didn't like. Because Bryan Danielson immediately said, do not go there with my kids, otherwise I will beat the shit out of you. It's exactly what he said. And I popped for it. The minute MJF says, hi, Birdie, hi, buddy, and Bryan Danielson stands there and does nothing. Zero. He lets MJF throw off this list of things that he's going to do to Bryan Danielson, to their dada at the event. When you push that narrative, don't go there with my kids, I will beat the shit out of you. Now, I'll give you an example. Seth Rollins, Matt Riddle. Remember that split screen? Now, just imagine, instead of the split screen where they're in two different areas, two different buildings, whatever, two different rooms, imagine that they're ringside, face to face. And Seth Rollins says what he said about Riddle about, his personal life. And Riddle's like, what did you say? I'll fuck you up. Don't fucking go there. And Seth Rollins gets to talk another 90 seconds about Matt Riddle's family. And he just stands there like a goof and does nothing about it. It was only after when MJF said, I'm going to give your dada a gift. I'm going to give him early onset CT. And before he could say E, that's when Bryan Danielson finally started brawling with him. And once they brawled, it was great. Bryan Danielson hit a forearm to MJF that looked like it legitimately knocked him out. Great camera work. As much as we criticize AEW's camera work, this was great. But the minute MJF said Birdie and Buddy, Bryan Danielson should have dropped the fucking microphone and go right after this guy. Instead, he stood there in storyline, and did nothing. It's the only thing I didn't like about that segment. But the pull apart afterwards was great. You have this suspension of disbelief that they truly fucking hate each other, that Bryan Danielson does want to beat the shit out of MJF. It's going to be very, very stiff. MJF is going to be bleeding like a pig, and Bryan Danielson as well. But you got to be careful about those things, especially when you talk about family. The minute Bryan Danielson says, I will beat the shit out of you if you go there, so don't bring up my kids, and then he proceeds to talk and mention their names, and Bryan Danielson does nothing. It's the only thing I didn't like about it. But overall, I'm not complaining. It ended up very, very good. The Battle Royale to determine one of the two tag teams in the tag title match at Revolution was decided tonight. And yeah, we feared it last week, everyone. We feared it. Look on the left of your screen. For those on audio only, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal won that spot. I'm all for indie comedy because I used to work indie shows. I attended countless indie shows, and there's a lot of very humorous, dumb shit that you see at indie shows. My God, I beat the shit out of someone with a loaf of Italian bread. I bashed someone over the head with a loaf of Italian bread and got the pop of the night. I took gizzards from inside a chicken and tried to shove it down somebody's throat, and people were chanting, holy shit. Goofy stuff. But this was beyond stupid towards the end, because towards the end it came down to Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Trent Beretta. And basically, Trent Beretta goes to eliminate Jay Lethal, and here's Satnam Singh holding him up. And to be extra dramatic about it, Jay Lethal is acting like he's like a bad 1920s movie with King Kong, where he's standing on top of the Empire State Building and he's teetering. It was just really, really dumb. Then on the opposite side of the ring, Jeff Jarrett goes to fall and Satnam Singh is there. And then Trent, Jay Lethal thinks he eliminated Trent. Jeff Jarrett thinks he eliminated Trent. Here's Orange Cassidy on his shoulders. And for a live crowd, for an indie crowd, we would all have fun. We would that was fun. It was lighthearted. On TV, it looks like shit. It looked awful. And eventually, Jeff Jarrett eliminates Trent. So now Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal get that spot for the tag titles. So next week we have the Casino Battle Royale to determine the last spot in this tournament. Now, we don't know all the teams that are going to be involved. One thing that probably is somewhat interesting to a lot of you out there is the fact that Aussie Open was put in this tournament. And Aussie Open is facing the Young Bucks for Rampage this Friday. So for all of you out there that are fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling, you will get Aussie Open versus the Young Bucks on Friday. They were in the tag tournament tonight, obviously did not win. I think a lot of people thought the Lucha Bros would have won it, but as we said last week, you have the Guns who are still very, very green. The Acclaimed who are, developing really nice, but they're not neither team is on a level of the Lucha Bros, not even close. The Lucha Bros would have to really slow down their shit. And even with that, it could turn into a slop fest nightmare. Just timing would be way off. So now you got Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, who's been feuding with mostly the Acclaimed. So now the other team is probably going to be a team that is more, with the guns, probably an experienced team as well. But we don't even know who the participants are yet. So we'll see what happens. And then the main event, as we said earlier, the Dark Order earlier tonight, Evil Uno tells Hangman Page, look, I don't want you out there. From bell to bell, let me do this. The Dark Order are not taken seriously, blah, 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 blah. And Jon Moxley beats the balls out of Evil Uno, takes his shirt off, reveals, he enjoys a little bit of Pizza Uno, and bloodies him up. The crowd during the night chanting Moxley. You could tell that the crowd was very, very strong behind Moxley. After the match is over, Moxley's pretty much being a heel, and this calls out Hangman Page, and they brawl a little bit. Moxley's got Evil Uno's blood all over him, and, they're hyping up the Texas Death Match for... By the way, the Texas Death Match is taking place in California. You couldn't come up with like a Compton street fight or something, like, Compton Chaos Match. No, that would sound stupid. But, yeah, so that's how it went off the air. The announcement, as we said earlier, now one good thing did come out of this announcement, and I didn't say it earlier because I didn't want to have it tied to the criticism of AEW All Access, which to me feels like TNA Reaction all over again. Tony Khan was on the camera, and before he could say a word, he's like, I have someone else that I think, is, big star, and I think he would be better to make the announcement. And Adam Cole goes on the screen. And look, seeing Adam Cole back in wrestling, see him healthy, see him smiling, makes me feel good. So Adam Cole, even though he was the bearer of the news, he also announced something else, that Adam Cole is returning next week. So now you got to ask yourself, could he possibly end up with a match at Revolution? That might be asking for a lot. And I'll be honest with you, even as a selfish wrestling fan, if he needs to take it extremely slow, and he should. And listen, let's also remember, this guy's been working out in the ring. He's been sparring with other wrestlers. It's not like he's just on Twitch playing video games and he's going to show up next week. Oh, yeah, I've been doing cardio. The guy's been in the ring, and he has passed a lot of protocol. So he's good, but you still got to take it very, very slow. Look at Saraya. Even though Saraya, some of the matches have been questionable, I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but if you remember early on, she was dealing with a little bit of like PTSD, I think she called it, that she didn't want anybody to like hit her from behind. Like she's got, some emotional issues with that. And it's nothing to joke about. Believe me, I tell you, some situations could leave people crumbling. But if you notice with her matches now, there are a couple of spots where someone is, trying to get a little offense from behind her, and you don't even notice it. Whether it looks good or not is a different story, but it looks like as she gets in that ring, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. I don't care how many times she works out at the school. I don't care how many times she works out before an event. It's not until the event itself where you really get pushed to the test. As time goes by, it should get better. It should get better, but she is acclimating herself, not just physically, but emotionally as well. So with Adam Cole, I think you do take it slow. But him returning is good by all means. And that's why, I'll give the show a chance. I'll give it a chance. But just based on the history, listen, if it turns into like a WWF Confidential, all right, that'll be a little bit cool. The problem is I don't see AEW trying to get that, go there. I don't even think creatively they'd be able to, and that's not a knock on AEW. WWF Confidential was a whole different animal, and there's no way I could even describe it. You have to just watch it, and the vibe, the aura about it, the attitude, the style, just the way it came across. It felt different. So we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, my Beavis and Butthead shirt. Yeah. So that's pretty much Dynamite tonight. It was an okay show. It was better than I thought it would be, especially on paper, because seriously, if you look at this lineup, I mean, honestly, everything was predictable. I think the only thing really that might be in question was the tag team battle royale, and the majority of you last week were like, fuck Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, because of their recent history with the Acclaimed, and they're veterans, so they will. Listen, let's turn Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal into a positive right now. Both of those guys are veterans. One is a Hall of Famer. Jay Lethal arguably will be a Hall of Famer once his career is over. You need veterans to guide young stars of tomorrow as well. So you need two veterans with that kind of presence. I know it reeks a lot of TNA, like, look at this guy, he's back in AEW, and now we're getting a fucking TNA reaction type show, and we're getting this, we're getting that. But, do I think Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett are winning the titles at Revolution? No, not at all. I think their job, they have a specific job, just like we talked about with Bronson Reed in the Elimination Chamber and Raquel Rodriguez in the Elimination Chamber. Their roles were to really enhance and, just show off their strength, especially Bronson Reed. He definitely came out of there much better than going in. These two guys, they're there to make the Acclaimed and the Guns look that much better, help guide them through a better match. And but again, we don't know who the fourth team is. We don't even know who the participants are going to be. We might get a surprise next week based on AEW's history, especially you're bringing Aussie Open. And listen, let's not be stupid here. Aussie Open, why are they here? Just for Rampage? Just to be in a Battle Royal? Remember, we got Ring of Honor taping this weekend, right, in Orlando? I'm blown away. Seriously, for all of you out there that are hardcore AEW fans, you have to admit, with the push of Ring of Honor on TV, even now, and you don't let the world know that starting this weekend, you're going to be holding events or taping for Honor Club, how do you not tell the entire world? I mean, yes, people in Orlando, you're not telling them, so they don't even know. Probably a lot of them don't even know. But you want the wrestling world to know, like, oh, shit, so maybe I will order Honor Club. In fact, I had a few of you ask me over the weekend, I think Honor Club is worth it once they do TV? I don't know what the tapings are yet. Once we get the spoilers this weekend, we'll have a better idea. I have a feeling Aussie Open might have been brought in to do these tapings. So we'll see what happens. But, it wasn't a bad show today. So, all right, a couple of things very quickly. I'm just looking at my notes here. I think the only thing that we really haven't brought up yet is some main roster news with some NXT stars and also with ratings. As I said earlier, a lot of you out there came up with the idea that I should keep AEW and NXT ratings on Wednesdays and on Mondays do everything else. I like the idea. So starting tonight, we'll start doing that. Now, obviously, NXT's rating did not come in today. That's why we're doing a contest. In fact, before we go off the air, I'll give a shout out to anyone out there that could get the trivia question right that we were going to do tonight for the Nikita Lyons photo. I'll give it to you in a few moments. But NXT last week, as I said, did 640,000 viewers. So next week we will discuss the rating. And we'll also look at the high point and the low point of the show. I'm really, really curious to see if Bron Breakker versus Jinder Mahal scored the highest quarter, because we've been talking about Bron Breakker and that ratings decline for the last 2+ months. And I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. I say it more on Patreon than anything else because we do Patreon Tuesday nights. But listen, even though Bron Breakker is getting heat from the NXT live fans right now, understand Bron Breakker has done everything in NXT. So, they're pretty much just bored of him. They've seen everything. They've witnessed everything about Bron Breakker. And they're kind of waiting for Carmelo Hayes to take that spot. I promise you, at NXT Stand and Deliver, when Bron Breakker loses that championship, even though that crowd is going to be rooting for Carmelo Hayes big time that night, once the match is over and the reality strikes in to everyone there that Bron Breakker, that's his swan song. And that doesn't mean that he's not going to be in NXT anymore. He might be around for another week or two. We don't know. But at that night, you're going to see that entire building give him a standing ovation, claps, showing their appreciation, and you will see Bron Breakker get very, very choked up. The fans do not dislike Bron Breakker. They definitely do not dislike him. It's just they are tired of his run. It's been so dominant that it's gotten stale. Carmelo Hayes is the next in line. Now, that leads to Carmelo Hayes. No disrespect intended towards Dave Meltzer and a few other websites that are reporting it, but they reported that Carmelo Hayes is being brought up to the main roster. And I will tell you, from those that I talk to, and look, I'm not saying that my sources are better than theirs. When I talk to people I'm friendly with, we have conversation. I don't say to them, hey, you got any dirt that I could share? Got any scoops that I could break on the show? I don't do that. But I will tell you that, especially that vibe in that crowd, everybody's preparing for Carmelo Hayes to start his reign leading NXT. And he is not going to that main roster right away. He is going to have some additional dominance in NXT. So the reports that he is going to the main roster, right after Mania, it is not true. As far as that I know. I could be wrong. I'm not reporting it as news. I'm just telling you from what I was told. Carmelo Hayes is going to have a substantial run in NXT. The only other person that is on the horizon that they want to push as well is Grayson Waller. And there are some people that think that Grayson Waller is going to go to the main roster sooner than we realize. Grayson Waller might end up getting more buzz than Bron Breakker on the main roster. So keep that in mind. Also, Von Wagner continues doing the favors. He lost to Tony D'Angelo yesterday. His relationship with Mr. Stone is on ice. And, just the way they are handling Von Wagner, very, very matter of fact, Von Wagner is on the fast track going to the main roster as well. And believe it or not, I tell you, I used to hate Von Wagner. There is something about him that I am enjoying. Not recently, because he's just losing and it's kind of matter of fact, but he is doing favors on the way out. Von Wagner is coming to the main roster sooner than later. He might end up being the next Corbin. And I'm not saying that in a negative thing, but someone who is like a bigger guy that has a little bit of a presence. I'm not saying he's going to be annoying like Corbin, but believe it or not, I tell you, that Corbin vibe is going to be there when he goes to the main roster. Unfortunately, we're not going to hear come Tuesday. You might hear come Monday. So Von Wagner, another person that WWE is seriously considering bringing to the main roster, that is Zoey Stark. Zoey Stark is arguably, with the exception of Michael Satomura, but they don't want to bring her to the main roster right now. I haven't heard anything about her coming to the main roster. It would be great, but it would be just a fantasy match for a lot of hardcore fans out there. Like if she came to the main roster and did a face-to-face with Asuka or Bianca Belair or anyone else, you're not going to hear holy shit chants. She don't have that kind of, U.S. exposure as of yet. Zoey Stark, they feel, is one of the most polished women that are in NXT right now, and she is appearing to be on the fast track coming to the main roster. Zoey Stark might be, I don't want to say Natalya, and I don't mean that. And Natalia's like godmother of the division, role model, inspiration, like an aunt to a lot of girls there. Zoey Stark is more in that line where she is an older wrestler but could still go and can actually guide and help some others along the way. She might be a cross of Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Not at the MMA, but I'm saying like Shayna Baszler is just like a tough son of a bitch. Like, I wouldn't want to meet Shayna Baszler in an alley. You know, I honestly think she could punch me in the face and knock me out. Like Zoey Stark, same thing. I think she could punch me silly, you know, but but with Natalya, it's wrestling ability. You know, not as great as Natalya. She hasn't put in enough time yet, but Zoey Stark is on the fast track. A lot of people thought that Alba Fire at one point was on the fast track, and I brought it up as well. Alba Fire, there are a few holes still that need to be filled. She is still not ready yet for prime time. If you watch her work closely, there's things that need improvement. But those are the names that are being thrown around right now. So I want to give 2 super shout-outs before we start jetting out of here. Kevon Lewis with a 10 spot. Thank you, Kevon. AEW No Access will feature Adam Cole and Britt Baker, Sammy and Ty Mello, the Young Bucks, the OG, well, he said something else, the OG OnlyFans girl, Saraya. Saraya's, the OG OnlyFans girl. He means Tony Storm. Saraya, Eddie Can't Lay Off the Burger Kingston, and Cokehead Khan. Kevon Lewis sounds like I do that this might be a TNA reaction type show. Like, look, seeing Britt Baker and Adam Cole going out and doing things, I'm not going to crap on it because I am a big fan of Adam Cole. You know, so to see that he's happy and healthy and see him doing things, all right, it's cool. But we've seen a lot of that on YouTube, you know, with others. And probably the one that I think about more than anything is Zelina Vega and Malachi Black. You know, you got Malachi Black on TV scaring the shit out of people, you know, and then you see him in a store like, hey, what candles do you want to buy? Do you want this? Do we need any effervescence? You know, like, you see him out of his element, and it's like, you know, it's cool. I mean, we know they're playing characters, but you can't pull the curtain too far. You know what I mean? For some people, you cannot pull that curtain. Like, I don't expect to see Moxley, you know, totally out of his element. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some lines you're not drawing. But look, you know, I personally think what they should do with this show is help us get to want to know some of the younger stars a little bit more. Like Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello, you know, I think people can separate the real life and the characters on TV. You know, so you might have a little bit more like appreciation, like, hey, you know, he's maybe not that big of a dick after all. You know, I just don't know if it was necessary. Like if this was 3.5 years ago, you know, instead of us, you know, like we want to understand who this guy's all about or why we should get behind this person or why we should like this person. And they never did that. Like, there was a lot of people that they just threw out there, and what pissed me off with Excalibur was how he would, like, talk about people that aren't household names and almost talk, and it's not a knock on him, but he's almost talking down to us, almost like, you don't know about this person? Oh, that's blah, 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 blah. Oh, Tony, that's blah, 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 from the blah, 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 blah promotion. And he's running on a resume. And we're like, yeah, we still don't care. You know, like, maybe if we would have learned, I don't know, I think this feels a little bit late. But we'll see what happens. Theme Parks with Johnny with a 10 spot. What do I think about NXT getting out of the NXT arena and start branching out to big arenas and start becoming an official brand and putting Level Up and the new developmental just would like my opinion? My opinion is no. That's the problem that they fell in 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That was the problem they fell in, and it wasn't just because AEW was on Tuesday nights or as well. Excuse me, when NXT was on Wednesday nights. No. NXT, you have to keep it as developmental. You got to keep the stress off of these talents. You got to eliminate the unnecessary pressure. And listen, when you understand this, just imagine this for a minute. Think about Vince McMahon up until he stepped away last year for a little while. The pressure, and you see the 100, 200 releases in the last couple of years, okay? Now, in the back of your mind, NXT is now on the same night as AEW. And even though, everybody and their mother in WWE could have told the NXT roster, look, you guys are the future of tomorrow. Do not think about the competitor. Do not think about the other show. Do your thing. Learn your craft. No pressure. Let me tell you something. Every week when those ratings come out and every person online compares the two, and you got people in wrestling calling it a war, the fans making a war, this making a war. And there's the pride value, that the wrestlers have pride. They don't want to be having their ass handed to them. And then you got a lot of stars, young rookies that have yet honed their craft, and they have this added pressure that they gotta present a good rating. You think Vince, when the ratings came out, you think Vince is like, oh, we're just focusing on developmental, ignore AEW. No, it's a pride thing. It's an ego thing. And a lot of those wrestlers had a lot of unnecessary pressure added to them. And you had a lot of people out there that when WWE was trying to pull back and go back to what made NXT great? Look at NXT from 10 years ago. Building the stars of tomorrow. Didn't have the pressures of the ratings. Didn't have the pressures of competing against another product. Having this social media world calling it a war. Look at it 10 years ago. So when WWE decided to finally, 2 years ago, say, look, enough is enough. We got to build the stars of tomorrow. We have to build Carmelo Hayes the right way, Bron Breakker, the women in the company, the Toxic, whoever it is. We got to let them, Tiffany Stratton. You look at all of these people, and what happened? Oh, they're trying to erase Triple H's legacy. They're trying to erase what NXT was. No, they're going back to developmental. And then when WWE would say publicly, look, we got to build the stars of tomorrow. We can't just depend on the indie circuit or people working in other companies. We got to build our homegrown talent. We start the NIL program. We start this, we do that. And even with all of that, you're lying. You're lying. Because Vince McMahon, you have to answer to Vince. You're lying. Publicly traded company. Yeah, they're lying. They're lying. The wrestling news sites are the only ones that accuse people of lying. Vince McMahon tells Pat McAfee that we have to answer the stockholders. We have to do this. We can't do you're a liar. You're a liar. You're lying. You're lying through your teeth. So, no, if you start having him branch out into big arenas, you start adding that pressure again. There's nothing wrong with having one or two. See what they've been doing the last 6-7 months? They have NXT stars work main event and work dark matches. Give them a little taste of what it's like to perform in front of large crowds. I'll tell everybody one thing quickly, then we'll do, for fun, we'll do the trivia contest for Nikita Lyons, then we'll go. I brought this up before. Way back when I was doing the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline, I think it was 2001 or 2002. I don't remember exactly what year it was. Might have even been 2000. I don't remember what year. But we saw a dark match. Went to the Garden with Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, and a few others. Timmy Arson was there, God rest his soul, the ECW Zombie. Went to the Garden. And one of the dark matches that night featured Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. This was before they went to the main roster. And they sucked. It was not good. And we talked about it on the hotline. We did the hotline the next day. And we're like, oh, you see this guy? He's awful. The dark match was not good. Look what ended up happening. So, you give them a little taste. Let them feel what it's like to perform in front of a big crowd like that. But you don't want to add the pressure, and you don't want them to be another alternative. You want to build the stars of tomorrow. Just because you have a AAA baseball team and they got 150 wins, you don't turn around and say, let's bring the AAA, let's take the whole team and let's put them in the major leagues. You have to build the stars of tomorrow. If there are stars on that roster that are so good right now, promote them. Bring them to Raw, bring them to SmackDown. Oh, but what do we do? If there's no room, well, then you got to release some people that are not cutting it anymore. That's how it works. So, no, I don't think you should do that. So, all right. With that said, how long are we gone? Oh, we went about 90 minutes. All right. For fun, give a shout out to the first person that gets this right. This was the trivia contest tonight if we would have gone that route for the Nikita Lyons photo. Nikita Lyons, 1 year ago today, made her NXT debut and, won her match. Okay, I'll give you that hint. But that was not her first WWE TV appearance. She actually appeared also on 205 Live. So I want you to tell me, who was Nikita Lyons' first opponent 1 year ago in NXT, and who is her opponent on 205 Live? I'll give you a hint. She won one of those matches. She lost one of those matches. So, who beat Nikita Lyons in her WWE TV debut? And who did Nikita Lyons beat in her NXT TV debut? So, first person that gets it right. Now, if nobody gets it right in a minute, then we'll go off the air. But I think someone is going to get it right. So, tell me who beat Nikita Lyons on her TV debut, and who did she beat on her NXT debut? Okay, we already got a winner. Shout out to Cerebral619. 1 year ago today, Nikita Lyons won her match against Kayla Inlay, and her original TV debut for WWE is back in December of 2021. She lost to Amari Miller. So there you go. Little trivia for everyone out there. So, all right. I'm going to jet out of here. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And definitely leave some feedback, questions, any leftover comments that you may have. And also let me know what you think about the balance that we did tonight as far as talking about the TV. Because like I said, everybody and their mother reviews these shows and dissects it. Most of you out there watch these shows. I don't need to tell you all the moves that Orange Cassidy did in his match. I don't need to tell you all the little, crevices and, cracks for what went down. We go over the highlights and what we liked and disliked, what we thought was good, what we thought was bad. And for anyone out there that did not see the shows, maybe that changes your mind to watch it, or maybe you feel like, I'm glad I didn't watch it. So I will be back here Saturday. Next Thursday, we're going to be doing the next Q&A. We haven't done one in a couple of weeks. I was going to do it for this week, but it's a little overload since we just had Elimination Chamber. So I will be posting a thread in a couple of days. If you want to submit a question, it'll be on the Q&A. But as of right now, I'll be back here Saturday morning, 11:05 a.m. We definitely have some things to get into, some really interesting things. But you'll have to wait for the preview to see that. And, there's a couple of interesting things being discussed as far as WrestleMania. And WWE's, I will tell you this right now, just as a lead-in, WWE is going to be testing a few matches on the, you want to call it house show circuit? Call it the house show circuit. They're going to test a couple of matches to see how they come across. And that could be some of your WrestleMania matches that have not been announced yet. Even though we do have a good idea as far, and you know what? I do want to get in something before we go off the air. AEW Revolution, the matches so far that are confirmed and are about to be confirmed. But just keep in mind, when you see the list of the rumored matches for WrestleMania, there's still about 7, 8, maybe 9 matches that have to be added. There's quite a few. So we have an idea, obviously, for a good chunk of them, but there's a few others that they're not sure which way to go. And don't pay attention to these news sites that are just throwing match combinations out there because they're just trying to get people to click on this shit. But Revolution right now, what it looks like is obviously MJF versus Bryan Danielson, 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW title. The Guns versus the Acclaim versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus a team that will be determined next Wednesday in the Casino Battle Royale. That'll be for the AEW tag titles. Jon Moxley versus Hangman Page in a Texas death match. Samoa Joe will be defending the TNT Championship against Wardlow. The Elite, it will be confirmed, will be defending the Trios Championships against the House of Black. Jamie Hayter will be defending the AEW Women's Championship against Ruby Soho and Saraya. Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho with the Jericho Appreciation Society banned from ringside. We should see something, even though it wasn't announced, we should see something Friday with Jade Cargill to set up something for her to defend her title at this event as well. Now, next week on Dynamite, Hook has already been reinstated, and he's going to face a member of, the Ethan Page and Matt Hardy's group, with Stokely Hathaway, the Firm. But, they're teasing the possibility of, either Ethan Page or Matt Hardy or the split between the two eventually. Something would Hook at Revolution as well. But, more matches will obviously be announced. But with the 60-minute Iron Man match, that is going to eat up a good 4 matches. So when you normally get your 14 to 15 AEW matches, including the dark ones, you're now talking probably about 10 to 11. And just what I added up right here is, 7? 6 or 7? No, I said 7, possibly 8. So you're probably only going to have maybe 3 more matches announced. We still don't have an opponent for Orange Cassidy. He'll probably work dark. I still wonder if they're going to go Claudio versus Orange Cassidy. I sure felt that way by watching Dynamite tonight. We'll see. When we get those feelings, they seem to happen. Did you see all the Trish Stratus news today? We had that discussion on Monday. And it's going to lead to Trish Stratus getting involved, leading to WrestleMania. And everybody today is saying it's going to lead that way. So you feel that something might be going in a certain direction. There's a good chance that you could be right. So much love, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. I hope you could join me Saturday morning live for a little bit of coffee and yours truly. And let me know your honest thoughts about this AEW All Access. Is it something that you're legitimately looking forward to? Is it something that, am I being a little bit too harsh saying that it reeks a lot like TNA Reaction? And if you never saw TNA Reaction, maybe you should go check out some of the episodes. It sure feels like TNA Reaction. We'll probably get a little behind the scenes of Sting hanging out with Darby Allin. We'll probably see, it's cool things to see, but was it necessary to do now? You feel like other things should be improved, like doing a reality. I don't know how that attracts more people to tune in, because it's going to happen. I'll make a prediction right now. You will see storylines commingled with this show. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be like a Dominic Mysterio situation, but I would not be surprised. Oh, Adam Cole. We had the cameras filming Adam Cole and Britt Baker at the supermarket, and look who showed up. Dominic Mysterio at Rhea Ripley, and they bombed them with eggs. Or put their stuff back on the shelf. How dare you put my Cottonelle back on the shelf, you cocksucker? I'm just saying stupid shit, but will not be surprised if we see storylines eventually get commingled with this show, because it'll be a cheap way. Oh, the cameras were filming them in real life, and this person showed up. How dare you in my private life? You watch. You watch. If anybody sees this repeated, this clip, you already know that it happened. You watch. I will make a prediction. I don't make many predictions here. We cook sausage. We're making some nice sausage with the Gargano Waller stuff. And we're making some nice sausage with Trish Stratus as well. But this is better than sausage. This is not a prediction. It's a spoiler. You watch. And you know what? It might be good. Might be good. That would be pretty interesting. Darby Allin cruising down the desert with Sting. And, I don't know, Ethan Page slashes his tires. Maybe he does one of those pit maneuvers, you know? Remember when the Steiners got run off the road? Look, we were filming them in the desert and this person showed up. Yeah. Attempted murder. Yeah.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.